This week, I'm excited. We're going to be hearing more about our brand and about building a brand and what that means today, building a brand in today's culture, today's world. And man, I think we have one of the best people to talk about that. Somebody who has worked with a lot of companies, has a lot of experience within this through various media, and has really helped companies find themselves in a lot of ways and be able to best present themselves. Oh wait, is it Joe? Is that who I'm talking about? So that today is going to be from Wabash and Lake. We're going to have Joe Doran talk about the brand, and so I'll without further ado, I guess I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Well, thank you, James. I'm too humble about that stuff. I appreciate it. Shelly and I do it. This is what we do all day for everybody. Quick intro on us, then I'll go over to it. We got a little slide set up for you guys. We're an ad agency. Yes, we focus on advertising, but I can't stand the title of ad agency. And so we're going to use ourselves as an example of our brand. Our competition are all seen as ad agencies. So we lean into the fact that we don't want to be seen as an ad agency. What steps are we taking to not be seen that way? How are we understanding the needs of the customers, the people we want to really impact, so that they truly feel that we're not here to push some ads thing on them? We're not. We're really here to be different and to help and make sure that your brand is the best that it possibly can be in ways that you didn't think it could be. So we're going to share all of our ideas and all of our thoughts, and we have it all here on a simple slide deck. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment to share the screen and we'll get started here.
Yep. So our topic today, in case you missed it, is refining your brand to match today's customer. And that's exactly what it needs to be. So the branding that we're going to talk about and the steps that you're going to be able to take away from this not only apply to today's customer, but in these unprecedented times, as we hear about, it's a way for you to look at what the next 18 months look like for your customer. So it's today's and tomorrow's customer that we're really focusing on. Also, we are very big fans of a simple approach. So you'll see this in our advertising, our commercials, and today's no different with we do have a slide program to show you. They're simple and they're focused. And I would like to say at the end, we'll give you our information so that if you want a copy of these slides, we're happy to send them to you so that you can focus on listening instead of writing down furiously if there's things you want to know. So you'll see the slides. So Joe, what is a brand? Let's start with that.
Sure. And again, we promise altruism in this. And we're going to say it probably a couple times here, but I'm big on that. We are here to help. We're not here to, we're not going to follow up and try to sell you up on something that is not our intent in any way, shape, or form. We've been taking calls from the last few meetings. People have asked, hey, can I get 20, 30 minutes of your time? Yes, of course. If we can help, if you're going to put the effort into try to improve, we're going to try to help improve you as well. So we have no other intent except just to help. So with that in mind, this is who we are. There's my pretty face. There's her pretty face. Her face is much prettier than mine. And the next, just to get started. So basically the first question you have to ask is, what is a brand? And we deal with a lot of different groups that will try to direct you one way or the other. And a lot of different experts will give you different definitions of what a brand is. Some might say, first, you need an incredible logo or a catchy slogan or name or a perfect website and business cards that match. But we say you need to go deeper and you go much deeper. You need to focus on the human, focus on the people. And these are some of the brands that we represent, just so you're familiar. Maybe you've heard some of their ads, seen some, worked with them. These brands all go well beyond just their logo, their colors. And quite honestly, the logo doesn't really matter. It's how people feel about them. So we help them connect with their customers, better understand them, the community, and deliver a consistent experience every single time. And what we want to cover today is based on, those elements that a brand needs to basically be as human as they possibly can be. Your brand should represent a promise. At its core, it's got to be about real people, not the logo, not the colors, not the slogan. At its core, you have to focus on those humans and what they're feeling, what they're experiencing in their normal lives, because honestly, any customer is just a beautiful, flawed, and confused human, just like the rest of us are.
So as we go through this, I just want to make sure that you're thinking about these questions. How is your business currently branded? What promises does your business make to your clients? And what actions do you take to ensure that everyone on your staff or anybody in your world is committed to fulfilling those promises? And we are going to use our business as an example, as Joe said, and I too want to assure you that this isn't a sales pitch, although it does kind of sound like it. But this is really how we assess ourselves when we're talking about what our brand as Wabash and Lake is. What are those, promises that we make in meeting the needs of our clients?
And if I may, we promise all this is going to wrap up into you here in just a few minutes, just to make that promise too.
Right. So one of the things about Wabash and Lake is that we've really earned this title of the anti-ad agency in town. It really is for a good reason. And that has been built with intent. A lot of other agencies, and I won't name anybody, but they do have a poor reputation as being old-fashioned, out of touch. And this company was really intentionally built to be very different. There are 30 plus advertising agencies in this area. So on paper, we're just, another ad agency. We're a commodity. You might be, your business might have 15 different competitors as well. So if you're just a commodity on paper, just like everybody else, what makes you different? What promises do you make? What promises do we make? What makes Wabash and Lake different, and how can we keep them?
And as Shelley hit a very key point there, it's a commodity. We are all just a commodity. No matter what company we work with, no matter what service we're in, no matter what our titles are, there are a lot of other people and businesses that do exactly the same thing. So on the surface, we're just a commodity. But as we said a moment ago, and as we're going to continue to focus on here, the more you make your brand about those real people, those humans, and you connect with them as a real person, they'll see you as more than a commodity. And that's such a powerful thing. So with that in mind, the brand that we chose to build, it was based on pain points. The pain points that we saw, the needs that we felt from local businesses over 26 years of me doing this, including the weaknesses of our competition. We had to become situationally aware first. So we became aware of that. Even how they take advantage of some, sometimes you treat it as a number or even just as another paycheck. But by better understanding how we wanted our brand to be felt, we can make the bigger impact. And it's allowed us to work with businesses that are also very similar. So we've attracted businesses that are like that as well. So being aware of this, of the competition, the desires of our clients, the needs, it allowed us to, make a brand that we can claim that we don't just make ads. We don't make ads to stroke the egos of our clients. We say no more than we say yes. We're able to do this because we've defined our brand and it resonates. And, we've actually, the last little bit of us, we actually are more of a customer experience based agency, and we back it up. That's one of the promises we make.
So the next slide, it says, the strongest brands create willingness in the hearts of their customers through empathy, consistency, and intent. So what does that mean, really? Well, what we know and what you should always be aware of is that as people and consumers, we all have a tendency to react from our emotions first because we're human. So if you become aware and understand the lives, the needs, and desires of your potential or even current customers, if you understand their fears and their joys, any preconceived notions that they have, the more you connect yourself and your brand to them, you will be creating and building willingness of those customers to engage with your company. So again, the strongest brands create that willingness by understanding them, by looking at what their lives look like and figuring out how you can meet their needs, what your business can do to meet those needs. And by doing that, you'll build that willingness to get them through your door, get them to engage with your company.
And willingness is the key word there. Do we all want more customers? Yes. Do we all want more leads? Yes. But if they are just leads, you still have to sell them and convince them of why they should work with you. But if your brand is customer facing and you build willingness before they even sit down with you, that conversation is easier. And so that's our biggest focus. And that's what we want to help you all see this as well. How do you build that willingness? So the next step, if we're going to put a couple people on the spot here, it's elevator speech time. So I know this is virtual, this is on Zoom. We have to, do one or two at a time here. But I want to ask somebody just to give us your 30-second elevator pitch that you would, as if you were at like a chamber luncheon or something, or another networking event. And yeah, again, I'm gonna put you on the spot, but Marguerite. Uh-oh, you're on the spot. It's kind of Russian roulette there. Oh, yeah, unmute your mic first. Hang on 1 second. You're muted.
That you didn't hear me squeal with terror, but okay. Well, I'm a realtor with the Steel Group Sotheby's International Realty, and while my background was all in human resources, the majority, had 17 years or so in HR, I always felt this kind of pull to real estate. My father was in it. My husband and I have been dabbling in it for all these years with property management. And then I stuck my toe in sales, and I am not a salesperson. Kind of like your advertising agency kind of comes from a different, I guess it starts at a different place. I feel the same way about real estate. I am so passionate about it. I eat it, breathe it, sleep it. I fall asleep every night obsessing over it. I love it. So I'm always thinking about the folks that I work with as, I don't know, I'm just very passionate about like where are they ultimately going to spend the rest of their lives, or just making that process for them really seamless and a pleasure. So actually they're more like partners than clients. And so I feel like I become sort of like family and friends with them. And I ultimately do. It ends up being that, they are all my dear friends at the end of the process. And so I guess that's as a standout or a differentiator between myself and some others is that, with the whole property management background too, I have a good time looking at the whole picture, not just plugging them into a house.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Russian roulette. Gina, I was gonna say, there you go. Yep. I saw your cat jump up. So
sorry about that. Like they sleep all morning. As soon as they know that I'm, on a meeting, they wanna talk.
Of course they do.
But so I'm Gina Facto. I work for Sustainable Sea Products International, and you might know us by our brand Dickey's Seafood. You can find us at your neighborhood Food Lion or Kroger. And so what we do is we take seafood that has been caught or farmed in ways that are good for the environment, and we make it easy and accessible for everyone. And so our products are value added. That means that if you order from us, I'm not going to show up at your house with a raw fish and throw it on your countertop. Instead, our stuff is easily ovenable. It's already battered and breaded. And this way, you have more time to ask your kids about how their day was at school, or in my case, to have a glass of wine with your girlfriends. That's it.
Good. Thank you. Just to keep it fair, Nicole, if you don't mind.
Okay. My name's Nicole Formsma. I'm the owner of Rejuvenation Skin Lab, And at Rejuvenation Skin Lab, we focus on vibrant, results-oriented treatments. My background is working at a clinical setting in a physician's office for years. And working in that environment, I was able to see what treatments and products actually worked and what was more marketing and hype. So when I designed my studio, I wanted to blend science and spirit. So you're getting the functionality, the effectiveness, the results with clinical treatments and products, but you're getting a much warmer, closer experience that's supporting you beyond just the surface. So I always say, people will come up to me and it's like a spot treater, you know, like it's this wrinkle here, it's the stark spot here. Can you get rid of this skin tag here? You know, they're pointing at these different spots, but the way I approach it is a lot more layered than that. You know, it's really building an environment of trust and commitment with my clients. And I can relate to what was said earlier about clients really turning into friends and having a relationship that goes beyond the treatment room is what I focus on.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. I picked.
No, I feel like we have a group of people here that don't need any of this advice.
You all are saying, you're all, and what we're getting at is I've been taking notes as you've all been talking.
Yeah.
The notes I've been taking are the emotive, customer-facing adjectives, the elements of, as we've been saying, and we're going to continue to go on with, the best brands aren't about you necessarily. The best brands are about how you impact people. So customer-facing, you flip the language around and you speak in emotion. You speak in that promise, that element of what, okay, you're not going to get X, Y, Z. They're not going to remember the data points, but you speak in the emotion that they remember. The stories, you know, those little elements are so strong. Like, I'm trying to look my notes here really quick.
And what I really heard was authenticity.
Yes.
Genuine, and you know, people know that, you know, so. I would say that you guys are well on your way. If you have strong brands already, it was very impressive that not only did you understand why your clients come to you, but your passion for them and helping them have a better existence in whatever way you can was very impressive.
And then it's making sure that those elements are tied into everything else that you have that is forward facing as well.
Can I say something, Joe, real quick?
Please, James.
I just you know, I noticed the passion too. I really appreciated that, and I learned a new word, ovenable.
Ovenable.
Getting food that's ovenable. That was a new word for me. So anyway, but yeah, hearing that passion come through, I really I liked hearing that. So anyway,
and the stories, especially Marguerite, your story about how your family's been in this line of work before, that immediately is a story. It's a relatable story. And so there's those little elements that really help make it more about the human, easily connectable. And if you aren't already sharing these things in your print pieces, your website, your business card, these are elements that are powerful to use and push forward. I'm going to give another example here, since we move on to the next little exercise. And James, you were last to speak, so I'm going to put you on the spot. So unmute your mic.
Oh boy.
James, like, darn it.
Yeah, I you know, we're supposed to bring a lunch, so I actually been sneaking some food here, so that's why I turned my.
All right, well, this is related then. This is related. And I think I've done this with you before, but so let's say you've got friends coming to town. And you've got, you know, it's Friday afternoon. They're coming to town Friday. You want to meet them for dinner, and you want to take them to a place they haven't been to Charlottesville. They haven't been in years, and you want to show them something special that you like a lot. You've got 5 seconds to decide, where would you take them? 4, 3,
Oh, I've already got it. Yeah, I would go to the downtown mall to a place called Maru. It's Korean food, and I love it. My son's from Korea, and I studied Korea, and so it's like it reflects me a lot. So it's like sharing a piece of me. So I would take him to the downtown mall, shows him Charlottesville, and take him to Maru, which is kind of like a little hidden gem there that a lot of folks don't know about. But it's great food, great price. So yeah, that's an easy one.
That's excellent. So you probably already, you're familiar with the layout. If you know where you would want to sit if you went inside, right?
I do. Yep.
You probably already know the menu without looking at it. What would you recommend?
Yes, I do know the menu, and I'm pretty adventurous, so I like to switch it up a lot. But they have a bulgogi, which is like the fire meat, like barbecue.
Oh,
So I
wow.
would definitely do the spicy pork bulgogi.
Nice, nice. Nicole, you're just over top of James on my screen. So same thing with you. You got 5 seconds. Where would you take somebody? 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'm not sure if we're choosing a restaurant or a place to go.
Either one, doesn't matter. Whatever you feel. Where would you take somebody to show them off, to show them a good time?
I actually have my sister coming in town once all this lifts. She's a yacht stewardess in the Caribbean, so she's coming to visit, and we talked about going to Charlottesville. So there's a trail in Elkton that I would take her to because it's all along this stream, and there's all these wildflowers that grow right there, and the way that the sunlight comes through the trees is super peaceful and relaxing, and I think she'd really like the scenery and the experience of the hike there.
That is that's a great pivot on that answer. I love that. One, I love to camp and hike, so that you got me right there. But, what both you and James did, you spoke in emotive terms. James didn't talk about, well, I like to go to this restaurant because they have 5,000 square feet of space, and I have an extra, I can stretch out a little bit at the table. And then the menus are, the pricing is reasonable, and for $9.99 I can go in there and get this, and the plates are exactly 12 inches by 12 inches. You spoke in how delicious the fire meat was. You like spice. You immediately started to smile and emote, and you were a human. Nicole, you did the same thing. Your hands, I was watching your hands, talking about the light streaming through, onto the water in the trail, and you were speaking in emotive terms. That, in James's case, that is part of the brand that this restaurant has created. I would believe there's probably some intent. James, you're pretty savvy on this stuff too. I imagine there is intent on how they have designed the restaurant, how the menu looks and feels. They focused on all those elements, correct? You can even nod if you just want to. Yeah, okay, I see the smile.
Yes, they do.
And Nicole, if there was a brand associated to, to this trail, which sounds amazing, they would have, just to step back, the Virginia State Park, their brand, they actually advertise and brand, and they have intent. They use emotive imagery. They don't talk about how many square miles of this and this and this. They don't get into the nuts and bolts. They speak in those terms that people connect with, and they can visualize themselves being there. And that is what they've chosen to make their brand about. And so that's, those elements are really, really powerful.
Yeah, well, that's really what they created there, and what you just demonstrated is exactly what we were just talking about, is that willingness. They make you want to go there. Like Joe said, that willingness, though, was created by intent. So they did take a look at everything. So what we really learn here is that the best brands, again, are focused on that entire experience that your clients or customers have. And they focus especially on how the customer feels afterwards. After they've experienced your restaurant, after they've experienced your trail, whatever it is, It's how they feel afterwards that is actually the real secret of a very strong brand. And so, you know, those people connected with you guys. And it just shows us again that, you know, whether we rave about something or even complain about something, the actions that all those actions are always going to be based on emotion. So if you went to your favorite restaurant and the food was burned, you're not happy. If you go to the dentist and they break your tooth, then you're really not happy. Or if you love the patio at Taza, and you say this was an incredible experience and I'll be back and I'm going to bring a lot more friends for sure.
Yeah. And that's a good example. Taza is personally one of my favorite places. They focus on, you know, from the parking lot to the way the bill is, they have intent in the way that their brand is customer facing. You know, they want to make sure that afterwards, as Shelly just said, afterwards, you feel so good about it. You can't wait to tell people. When you have those 5 seconds, in my mind, when I've got 5 seconds, I'm taking someone to Taza. That's just, it's one of my favorite places to go. They've got, I can go on and on about for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause, but yeah, there are other good examples of incredible brands too. I mean, there are the big ones, of course, like Apple, Porsche, Hilton Hotels. I mean, Porsche, prime example, a Kia and a Porsche will get you to exactly the same place, but one is 10 times the price. You know, the Porsche is so much more expensive, but it's the feel. It's the promise they make you that this is going to be something special. That Apple laptop does exactly the same thing as a $250 Chromebook. Almost exactly the same thing. But the way you feel about the brand is amazing. They are so customer facing. They don't talk about their specs. They don't talk about exactly how many gigabytes are in there, how much RAM you have. They showcase the curve, the soft touch of the aluminum. They make sure that it's all about your feeling, and that is what they push forward every time. Another perfect example, if you are familiar with Richmond, would be U-Crops, or even Chick-Fil-A. Chick-Fil-A is still a bigger brand, but they understand who their customers are and, you know, what they do to stand out from above the rest. I mean, Chick-fil-A, honestly, they're just fast food. They literally are just fast food, but they're seen in such a different light. And they've earned that. They've had intent and they've been consistent with how they've promoted themselves. And it goes beyond just that. So like when I walk up and I ask to have my root beer refilled, they always say, what do they say? It's, oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Everybody's experienced that. But is it really my pleasure? I mean, step back for a second and look at just be aware for a moment. Odds are the person is probably 19 years old, or on the opposite side, might be a retiree. And they're probably making just a little bit above minimum wage. Is it really their pleasure to serve you in that moment? It may not be, but you believe them. You believe that it is really their pleasure. And so how do they do that? You know, they, from top to bottom, they're aware that this is a critical piece of what sets them apart from all other fast food restaurants, all other chains. They choose to make it who they are. They act with intent when hiring, when training, when promoting up managers. This is the promise that it's my pleasure to help. This promise has become the culture and the brand that everything is built upon.
And we love their brand, don't we? I mean, who doesn't love those little chicken minis? Oh God, they're so good.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I think that Joe would agree that when you're talking about your favorite places, and I mean, if it's Taza, Chick-fil-A, any restaurant or business, really, we know is not always going to get it right. There's always going to be a fail somewhere. But these favorite brands that we have that we go to now, even if they do fail, you know, you go in and they weren't very nice to you at Chick-fil-A, or something happened at Taza and they had a fail. These guys do it right so often that people often will accept and look past those mistakes. And if you think about your favorite restaurant that you've been to, I'm sure you haven't had 100% you know, positive, wonderful experience every single time. However, if you've been there enough and they've done it right enough times, then you probably are willing to look past it. I mean, I know I am. So that's why consistency intent is so vital for your brand. Making sure that you are kind of like that Chick-fil-A, that old, U crops. Nina said her favorite place to go to is the Quirk Hotel. I'm assuming because you have a great experience every single time you go there. And I didn't know that it was owned by the U crops. So that's a great little find. But that explains why your experience is so good, right? I mean, U crops they're like the OG customer service. Group that they, Chick-fil-A and U-Crops, man, they just go hand in hand. So consistency and intent to have that consistency and to pay attention to what your customers are feeling is vital for your brand. So I guess the question for you to kind of think about during this segment would be, can you make a promise and then back it up every single time? Because that's the consistency that you're looking for, and your intent is to make those promises. And that is actually vital for your brand.
Exactly. And with one of our clients, Window Depot, they have a slogan, but we changed the slogan to make it not your typical window replacement company, because there's a negative connotation to window replacement companies. The old Sears window guy would come in half drunk and push you something you didn't need, and you never felt good about it. It was a used car mentality. Well, they've taken all the steps to not be that way, to not engage that way. They don't hire salespeople. They don't push you on anything, and they make that promise and they back it up every single time. So when people talk about them when they're not in the room, it's reflected in their reviews online that people do speak very highly of them. People feel very good about them. And so the question I have is, if we played that same exercise a couple of moments ago, where we played the same exercise with other people about your business, if we gave them 5 seconds and forced them to describe what did they feel about your brand, what would they say? How would they refer to you? How do they think and feel about you when you aren't there? After the fact. So it's, how do they feel when you're not in the room? What are they saying about you now?
And unfortunately, the best way to answer this is to ask yourself some questions. Now, for this group in front of me, I think these are probably things that you already ask yourself. You're just not aware that you're asking them, because so many of you already have terrific brands. This is about refining them. So you might find some real value in these questions. I will tell you that it is really hard to have any sort of self-awareness. So you're going to have to, want to know the answers to these questions, because it is hard to see ourselves. Personally in business, but if you want to move forward and be stronger, then you're going to have to truly see who you are now and who you want to be. So we put together some questions that we ask ourselves as individuals and as a company that really can help you get over that hurdle and help you define what you want to know. So, as you can see on the screen, what do you think is your reputation? What are your weaknesses? How do you think you're seen by others? My favorite is, what are your strengths and your best attributes? Because if you can start that, and that just makes you feel good about yourself moving into some of the other negative pieces. And again, like Joe said, it really is important for you to stop down and think, what do people say about your business when you're not there? What do they say when they're referring you to others? So these are just some things for you to think about, kind of a good guideline, a good place to start. I'm a big fan of the book. It's called The 5 Love Languages. And if you've never read that, it's a fantastic small little read, but the author does a great job of pointing people in a direction, things you already know, but until it's put into a particular box, you don't really understand how it all connects. And I think that these questions do the same thing as far as helping you kind of really get that definition going for yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of big companies, it's been a fortune. We all know this. We've heard of research companies. They'll test and see just what the marketplace thinks about your brand, and they'll charge you a fortune for it. And for a lot of us and even a lot of our clients, it's not realistic. But there are several things we recommend along with these questions that Shelley just went over that you can also do for yourself, for your brand. And part of this is, honestly, start by asking a close friend, a trusted coworker, a mentor, an employee, honestly, even a family member, brothers and sisters. Sometimes they're the most honest people. They can be a little too honest sometimes. But get those different inputs, those different, from as many different people as you can, you're comfortable asking. Ask them to shoot you straight. Make them promise, make them a promise that you only want the truth from them. No holds barred, please, honesty and truth. Even get it started by offering them an olive branch, and maybe lead with a weakness that you're pretty sure you have and you feel it. Just offer it with them. Love to show that you're able to be vulnerable. What do they see? What do they feel? What do they think about your brand? How it's represented when you're not in the room? Accept everything they come back with. Thank them for it. And whether it's good or bad, take it as it is and thank them for it. And then sit back and write them down, compile them, and review them. Make sure this is a helpful tool for you. Do these responses match up with who you think your brand is, with who your brand is now, who your brand was? If so, congratulations, you win. You're on top of the world. This is amazing. Most of the times, it's not quite always the case. The notes that they bring to you, they might be spot on. Sometimes it's going to be a little painful. I've had it done to myself. They could be a little eye-opening. But either way, it's an incredibly powerful place for you to build upon. That's what we're getting at. These basic elements here are kind of built on the 360 review system. Maybe some of you have been through this before or heard about it, but it's taken this 360 approach on your own with the tools you have at your hands right in front of you, and making the most out of it. And these are things that we do with our clients as well. Get that input, get that, see what other people are thinking and feeling about you and the competition. And we do this with our clients as well.
Getting the answers back, it really is very helpful, especially from your close friends or your mentors, because like I said, it is kind of hard to see yourself, that whole forest for the trees thing. So, and once you get the notes back, you'll then have a clearer picture of what you think your brand is versus how other people might see you. And then you have the power and the opportunity to change those qualities or actions that may be holding you back in business. What I found that even if I don't agree with something that somebody has said, I do kind of file it away. And then, maybe I'm able to accept that at a different time and then take action on it. So I would really encourage you to keep those notes and review them, and do this honestly every few months, making sure that I am doing the things that people can count on, that I'm consistent and I do everything with intent. As you move through that, you'll be able to make those decisions for yourself and see, but you got to be honest with yourself is what I would tell you.
Yeah, and it takes that awareness, consistency, and intent. Those are the three biggest issues, biggest items that we can ask anyone who wants to focus on their brand, whether personal or for their company. Awareness, consistency, and intent. Again, back to our example, we're aware that our competition is seen in a different way. So we are consistently aware of that, and we take consistent actions to be felt and seen as different. And then we act with intent, so that if we walk into a meeting, we're not going to be pushy, because we don't want to be. We don't want to be seen that way. So why would we ever? We don't want to come across as always wearing a suit and tie. There are some groups that do that. That doesn't work in all industries. It doesn't work with all people. It can put up a barrier at times. So we choose not to. It's that consistency, that awareness, and that intent. The next piece, we want to do a couple more reintroductions.
Nina wants to do this.
Yes.
Yes,
so
you do. Yes, you do.
So Nina, instead of your elevator pitch,
All right.
Describe what it is that you do. Even if you don't fully give a refined pitch, do nothing more than what are those adjectives, those emotions, those feelings that you want people to remember you when you have left the room?
So I'll speak on DNS Wine. So DNS
Sure.
Wines is the wine import and wholesale company that I founded in 2013 with a colleague. I've been in the wine industry since '96. So my entire, career has been working for pioneering women who decided to start importing wine to the US when this was really something that was dominated entirely by males, and bring in wines from their homeland. They were both French, and so all of the wines that they worked with were French. I'm a huge Francophile. And so the opportunity for me and sort of what sparked my interest and passion was the year abroad study program I did in France, learning about wine, getting, my kind of mind blown and palate blown and all of that as a young woman, coming back to California and realizing I wanted to get involved. And the reason why wasn't so much from a business standpoint or anything else, but it was, how do I stay connected to France, to winemakers, to my passion for the French culture, and my love now of wine and food, and it kind of the whole experience was very culturally enriching as it was meant to be. So my career path has been going from wine import company to wine import company, always focusing on primarily French wines and then expanding out from that. And so for me, it's been always about the people, the families, the connections with those winemakers and the next generations. I've now, in some cases, worked with 3 generations, and that's been extremely exciting to see.
Yeah, that is powerful.
Go up and take over. So that has been the driving factor, and that's kind of important because it's gotten me through the hard times and the recessions and all of that, is that my purpose has still been to serve those winemakers first and foremost, and then of course connect them back to the customers.
So how do they feel? How do they feel about you? How do those? That's a powerful story.
Yeah.
How do they feel about you and about your brand when you're not there? How do they refer you? Well, and if you don't quite know, what are those emotions you want them to speak on?
Well, I think that I have had the chance to get some of that feedback through referrals. And that was how we really built our business. We didn't go to trade shows. We decided to go the other direction, which is word of mouth from recommendations from winemaker to winemaker. And so I would hear their pitch of why we should meet with you, why we should have this appointment. And it was relationship based. It was that you truly care, that you genuinely understand our culture, and that you're extremely passionate and committed. And these are the kind of triggers, the loyalty factor. Some, for winemakers, you have a lot of people who kind of are fly by night. They'll come in, they'll represent you for a vintage or two, and then you never hear from them again. And so they would say, Nina is a people person. She gives good phone. I've heard some funny things, but that's really it. I can build a relationship with people, and I make it a priority.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. So your customer then are the winemakers and the people there, and you representing them by importing their wines. So your connections, and that's what Joe was getting to, is
right.
All those adjectives you just used, the loyalty, the commitment, those are the way you understand that culture. So you're not just some person going, yes, that wine, yes, that wine.
Yeah, that's the customer facing element. Yes.
Yes.
So even customer facing, I would tell you my story and my passion for the winemakers. Yeah. And if you connect with that and you connect with these stories, I'm a storyteller, yes, and I'm an ambassador, but I'm not going to sell you on the wine as a product. I'll never use the word product. It's not a product. And so that's really how I connect, is just sharing my passion and attracting people to that with the information that I'm giving them.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Yep. There's so much passion and emotion around wine anyway. So that's right. Perfect. It's perfect. Exactly. Just one more. Again, we're coming up on time here, but we're almost done. Nicole, So if you got just a couple seconds here, what are those 3 or 5 emotions, just strictly on the emotions? What do you want people to feel about you, your company, after they have gone? Maybe the next day they're at a party and they're talking about you to a friend. What do you wish that they would feel about you?
I wish that they would feel like I'm a concierge of wellness information. So they trust my integrity and my education around options when it comes to skincare or wellness. And if I feel like there's a connection that needs to be made outside myself for their best interest, that there's a lot of integrity when I present to them as far as relationships that I have with other providers, or partnering with other people that can support their skincare journey, whether it's a functional nutritionist or someone that's into electrolysis or hair removal, that I've built a network of other providers that support their journey. So it's
you're more than just one. Yeah.
One person or selling them on something because that's what I do and that's what I have, that it's a much broader respect for their best interest at
You're
heart.
greater than the sum of your parts.
Right. And that I prioritize educating them. So it's not just, again, selling them something, dropping them something, here's this package and you're going to look amazing after and it's going to be wonderful. That's going to happen, but this is why, and this is what it compares to other options that are out there, so that you can be confident that it's the best fit for you.
Yeah. Awesome. The ending there, I think you really lit up at the end. That's where the real emotion is. Yep.
So we are coming up on time here. We just want to leave you with a couple of things. And again, we're happy to send this slide program to you. Actions for refining your brand. So like I said, write out the adjectives, the emotions, the feelings that you want your brand to reflect. So that doesn't mean you have to like put everything in writing, on your, if you do print ads or radio ads or whatever you're doing, you don't have to say all those words, but you have to keep that in mind. How you want everything should be about those emotions. How do you want real people to think and feel about your company when you're not there? We encourage you to take that human approach. It sounds like many of you already do. Openly communicate with your staff, if you have a staff, so that they understand what the brand is you're trying to promote. Always remain open to input. Like I said, we all have those blind spots. So asking people to give you feedback that aren't Google reviews, if you know what I mean, when something doesn't add up to them or they think it can be improved, other people's insight is so important. And I always tell people, I'm willing to listen to anything you have to say, any criticism you want to offer me, if you're kind and respectful. It doesn't have to be, if you can do that, that's going to help me grow. And always be ready to change when and if it's needed. That's very important for your personal brand and in business.
Yes, and that last part is most critical because, ultimately today, does your brand match the current needs of the customer? Life is changing right now as we're talking. It does not look the same today as it did yesterday, and it will be the same tomorrow. We're in an absolute state of flux and change in this moment. So the questions that we're asking all of our clients, we're asking you as well, do you match the needs and lives of the customers now, but also tomorrow, 10, 12 weeks from now, 12 months from now? We're specifically asking questions, and if you aren't, I recommend these. How will you address their health and safety concerns? Because we all, in some way, shape, or form, meet and interact person to person. We do. So what are you doing now? Lean into that. Lean into it and address it and let them know. These are the steps we're taking. You don't have to worry about when you work with us. We've got you covered because it's important to you and also our staff. How will people be feeling after staying at home for the past couple months? That's a very good question to ask. You can impact them in a different way if you're aware of how they're going to be feeling before they feel it. What will they need from you? And is it different from what it has been, what it is today? we all are pivoting and changing as we go through each one of these days. And these questions are things that Shelly and I are asking as well. Do we need to change? Yes.
And a
What are
great
those
place to
ways?
start, a great place to start when you're asking yourself those questions is, how do you feel? You know, how are you feeling as you're going back out into the world? And what
Yes.
what would you need?
Yes,
You know,
most
what do you
certainly.
need from the people that you do business with? And that's a great place to start. And it creates that empathy that is really so necessary right now.
Shelley, I apologize. When I did my raving, open for Joe, I didn't mention you, but I've gotten to know you, and Joe speaks behind your back. He says very good things about you. So just so you,
Don't apologize. It's absolutely fine.
so
It's
thank
no
you
problem.
both. This was great. I learned a lot. I love asking questions. It's made me think a lot personally, and so I really, really appreciate it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Thanks so
guys.
much for joining us.
Definitely
Bye.
come
next
next week.
time.
I am so excited for what James is going to show us. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
that'll be good. My mind was blown when I started to understand this better, and all I do is slap my head going, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I know
Knowing your
this sooner?
numbers. Yeah,
So it's better late than never, but
good stuff.
yeah, it's really good stuff.
That's why we're doing this series, right?
I know.
That's the whole point of doing it. For sure.
Come out fitter after this is all over.
That's exactly right.
Well, thank you,
All right, guys,
everybody.
thank
Be
you.
safe. Please be
Thank you.
safe, and we'll talk
Thank
to you soon.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.